All right, so now you can see we've moved forward in the process just a little bit. This was that wall that we had just stood up. We took a little bit of time and stood the rest of the 4 walls up. We got them all framed, the sheathing is on, and we have a few different framing styles and processes that we went through. So let's just take a really quick look of what we did here. You can see on this wall, we have a 2 foot by 2 foot window that's framed in here. It's the very exact same framing process that we went when we laid out this door. The only difference is the rough opening is a little bit different in size, and we have a few new members here. So if you remember from the introduction of the video here, we still have our king stud and our shoulder. We still have our headers and cripples, but the new framing members that we have in here now, we have the bottom sill plate of the window, and then we have these guys, which are also still cripple studs. They're just on the bottom of the window instead of above the header. So if you can imagine, if we took the sill and the bottom cripples out, we'd basically have just a really skinny door opening. So what we did when we laid out the plates, again, this window was centered in the window, or in the wall. You can look at your set of plans and figure out where the center of the window is, just lay it out on your plates. And then we came off both sides of that center line and marked for our shoulder studs. And then we framed it the exact same way we framed this door opening. The only difference was whenever we finished framing the main opening, we measured down that rough opening, put in a sill, and put in the cripple studs. Again, remember these cripple studs fall on that same 16 on center layout. Oh, I think we came from this side. Yep, fall on that same 16 on center layout, so you can see we fall right in the center here, and our layout continues all across this wall. So that was this window. We also framed in another door over here. The biggest difference with this door is we have a 6 foot opening. So a lot of times you're gonna be framing like a patio door, or maybe you have a large bay window in the front wall of a home. So we have a 6 foot opening. The biggest difference with a 6 foot opening, anything over 6 foot, is we're gonna double up our shoulder studs here. You can see we have 2 shoulder studs supporting this header on both sides, and our rough opening is greater than that 6 foot, so we needed those to double those up. The other thing that we took into account for, we have this whole span here that's carrying the weight of our roof, so we beefed up our header just a little bit. We have a 2x8 header. Again, we still have that 1/2 inch sandwich, and it is nailed with 4 nails instead of 3 nails every 8 inches. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 nails on the back side here. Yep, so again, if you are happening to frame a door or window or whatever and have an opening that's greater than 6 feet, let's say we have like an 8 foot or above, make sure you check out those load calculations and load chart online to make sure you have a proper header size for your opening. All right, so if you remember with our first wall here, we have this temporary bracing put in place. So we plumbed this wall, then we brought this wall back up and we braced it the same exact way. So these 2 walls are pretty much close to being completely plumb and perpendicular. And then we went ahead and framed this end wall and put it in place. So there's one thing that we want to kind of look at when we lay out this end wall here. If you remember on our side walls or our front and back walls that we did here, we had this corner post that we nailed in. It was that flat 2x4, and you can really see now the benefit of having it. We have a good flat nailing surface that this end plate can be nailed to, and it also gives us a good 1.5 inches here of screwing surface whenever we end up putting our drywall on the wall. So doing double duty here, and you can really see how that works. The second thing, when laying out an end wall like this, if you remember our front and back walls, they were 12 foot. We went all the way from this side of the floor to that side of the floor. and we were able just to cut the plates at 12 foot. This wall is 8 foot, but we can't go from end of the floor to end of the floor a full 8 foot because we have this bottom plate and top plate to account for. So what we did was we cut our plates 7 inches shorter than 8 foot because we have 3.5 inches of plate here. We have 3.5 inches of plate here. 3.5, 3.5 is 7. So we subtracted that, and that came out to 7'5", and we made our plates at 7'5". So when we start doing our 16 on center layout, when we have to account for those plates, what you want to do is you don't want to hook on to the end of your wall plate. You don't want to hook on here. What you're going to do is you're actually going to overhang your tape measure 3.5 inches. That way, when you start your layout, you take into account for this plate. So when we come out to that first 16-inch mark and we put that sheeting on the outside of this wall, now we have that overhanging sheeting that we can nail into this corner spot. And if you come around here, you can see how that came out. So again, looking behind this sheeting, we have 3.5 inches. This is that outside wall. And now our first stud starts right here. And that's where we wanted to start our 16 on, or this is where we wanted to start our 16 on center. If we started right on that plate, our studs would be off, and when we put on a full sheet here, we might not have landed right on a stud. So we want to take into account for that overhang by hanging your tape off of that first stud 3.5 inches to account for this wall.